the person was like transgender,
No,
and
I
he
didn't
said
hear.
like, I don't know if you've seen that, but they
I know
try
the
to
story
find
you're
the, and
talking about.
and what happens is the people that dislike you, that are jealous, bring up the past. I mean, the incident that happened to him was like 25 years ago. I don't even know the whole story, but what I'm trying to say, it makes me nervous for running for something because, I mean, you could be a perfect person, which is great, but I just get nervous, and then sometimes power jumps in, and like I said, you've seen other things happen with judges and so on. I guess, what are your thoughts in regards to that? Because like I said, that's what kind of like pushed me away from doing it, because I just felt that is it really worth it? I mean, it's not like you're making so much money, and then there's also the corruption that takes place. That like, hey, go buy this piece of real estate. We work for like the county commissioner. Like this may be a good gas station like 20 years from now. You buy it, or the city buys the actual piece of land that you own, that your husband is a business developer. You know what I'm saying? So I just get nervous with this stuff. So I'm just curious. I'm kind of rambling, but it's kind of like, what's your problem? My problem is that I feel that people, the politics is just, it's tough.
I
It's tough.
agree. I agree with you. I mean, I always wanted to run for office. I felt I would be very good. I believe I'd be good for both sides, even though I lean right. I think we were talking before the show. I lean right, but I could see some of the left why they're doing what they're doing. So I could see both sides, but that always scared me because now it got so dirty. They basically ruin your life. Then they threaten you with arrest. They threaten you with this. They threaten you with that. They bring people back from elementary school. I'm thinking to myself, it's not worth it. Politics have got so dirty, it's not worth it to me to run, even though I'd love to run. And I think I would do good, but I'm too scared.
Well, you guys might be a little more interesting than me, or have a little bit more interesting past. I'll be honest, I never thought I would do this. I never thought I would run for office. I don't have any interest in being a public person, but what I don't like is injustice. I don't like unfairness. I don't like certain people being treated differently for things they cannot control. I have, for too many years, seen, and I'm not saying this is in every courtroom or even every judge, but I've just seen injustice done in a courtroom, and I've seen how hard it is to recover from it. So I stepped in and did this, but this was never a career goal. This was never a thought in my mind. I love the idea of having a private life and being a private person, but I also think when we're raising children in this world, and I didn't ask you, Dave, if you had children, or sorry, Dave, Dave, we talked about your kids, and I didn't ask you, Dan, if you had kids, but when you're raising children in this world, you have to think, like, what are you leaving behind? What kind of world are they walking into? What kind of world are they growing up in? And you got to do what you can to make it the best world possible. And my experience, my background, this is what fits me the best. So it wasn't a career goal or a design, and frankly, some awful stuff happens in these circles. There's been comments made about my child that aren't okay,
Right.
because she happens to be in the picture, and I put her on the picture on my flyers because I'm proud of my family.
Sure.
I love my daughter. I love my husband. I love the little family we built. We had a daughter later in life, so we're able to do it with intention, And I'm not saying younger people don't do it with intention, but when you have I had my daughter at 39, and my husband was in his late 40s, so it's very different than raising a kid in your early 20s.
Right.
You start to think, number one, we might only get one shot at this, so
Right.
we have to be a little more careful here.
Right.
And number two, you can really think about, like, school. You can think about the environment she's in. You can think about every little thing. We talk about what we want to battle with her on, and what we're going to let go. I mean, she dresses like a princess most days.
Right.
And we've decided that's just not a battle we're going to fight with her.
Right.
Because you only get a certain amount of time in your life, but you can dress however you want, right?
I agree.
So
That's not true these days.
Huh?
You dress all the time in different outfits, though.
But I understand what you're saying. Like when my kids are older, my oldest daughter's 29, my youngest is 25. She'll be 26 here shortly. And when they were growing up, I agree with you. My oldest daughter, she wanted to dye her hair. She wanted to dye her hair pink. They wanted to do this, and you know what? I just let them, because I thought to myself, they're not trouble. All they're doing is doing this. Let them live how they want. Let them, if this makes them feel better about themselves, let them do it. I never question it. So I totally agree with what you're saying. 100%.
The worst problem is your kid wants to dye their hair.
Yes.
Your problems are pretty good.
Yes.
I want her to be a nice person. I want her to be kind. I want her to be happy. And those things are a little harder sometimes to make happen.
One thing I did hear you say, you said you wanted the court system to be more fair, right? And I, like I said, Dave and I were cops. I was a cop 27 years. We have a great system. 100%. It's a great system, the jury system, everything. But I think you would agree, being an attorney, and Dave too, it's not fair for everyone. Everyone has a little better start. They can hire better attorneys, okay? I go back to the O.J. Simpson case, okay? He had, 5 attorneys. The normal person, including myself, could not afford 5 attorneys. I'd be lucky I could afford 1 attorney, okay? So the system is 100% not totally fair for everyone. Is that what you kind of feel too? Especially when it comes to bail, everything else.
We've definitely got issues with the system. I agree with you that it's a good system.
Right.
But like with any system, with any program, you can always perfect it. You can always make changes, and there's always going to be flaws and things to work on over time. Because no matter how good a rule set is, no matter how good a law is, it evolves over time. And one of the things about the judicial system and our judges is our role is not to write the law. I don't get to choose what the law is. I have to enforce it fairly and evenly across the board for everybody that appears in front of me. So one of the most important thing is that I have the experience when I take this job to understand what the law is in that court and how it applies in certain cases. So that experience you asked me about earlier when you were asking me my background and what kind of cases I've worked on, that helps a lot in these positions because, I sit as a short trial judge right now, and it is very rare that I get an issue in front of me that I haven't already had as counsel. So I know where the law is on something. I've never had a case or a decision appealed or brought up on a writ from my short trial work.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely
I'm really
good.
proud of that.
I was just laughing because every week I'm trying to get these different videos that we talked about before the show.
Right.
Of different videos, and I'm laughing when we have a personal injury attorney. I'm thinking of one of the videos that I have, like, is this a personal injury claim? And one of the videos is kind of funny. I'll probably bring it up now. So let's show that video because I'm already laughing about it. I'm not sure if you've seen this online.
No.
It's the roller coaster one. I don't know why I'm thinking personal injury. It's kind of like, let's watch this video, right? It's kind of a crazy video. You tell me if you could sue anybody for this. Everyone who calls me the problem solver because can I sue this person? Can they do a contingency? Anyway, this is a guy on a roller coaster. But watch carefully what happens. You tell me if they can make a personal injury claim. Go ahead. So do you see what happens?
Did that fly in his mouth? I couldn't see.
Can you play that again, like zoom in? So do you see what happened?
No.
I watched it 2 times. Watch what fly. It's a bird.
Face hit a bird, yeah.
Oh, it hit him in the neck.
With his blood all over his face now.
Oh my God.
Is it the bird's blood or his, I wonder?
I don't know. It's a good question. So I'm about to say, it's their fiduciary responsibility to keep those birds away from that roller coaster.
No, I don't think there's no lawsuit there.
It's a crazy video, right?
Well, that's an act of I think they call it force majeure, act of God. It's out.
Yeah.
It's out of, I should be careful what I'm giving opinions on because something like that might come in front of me as a judge. But there's different.
Unless they knew there was a pigeon problem nearby, they didn't take care of it, and people were complaining, and they didn't take care of that.
Depends on what kind of notice. What kind of notice they
have.
Is somebody feeding the birds next door? Like, is it one of their employees feeding birds?
It's possible. Then there's liability, right?
Yeah, I don't
know why I get personally. I'm like, because people call me honestly all the time. Like I had a phone call earlier today where it was like police brutality, and lawyers didn't want to take the case, and so they call me like the problem solver. Like, what should we do? I'm like, you got to call probably 100 lawyers because the person doesn't want to pay any money to do a lawsuit. Basically like police brutality, and they made like an internal affairs complaint and so on. And the guy's asking like, what should I do? And I'm like, if you don't have any money, you can't sue unless you find someone. I said these days, I think less attorneys are doing things pro bono because it's just expensive. I mean, you can't keep your lights on by doing everything pro bono.
This is true.
And it's hard to find attorneys, especially with these. Everyone thinks like they have a police brutality, and I'm not saying every case is a perfect case, but like everyone thinks that these days the cops are. Like he tried to arrest me and he punched me. Like the police can punch you, like everyone thinks the police need to be like softer these days. Right. But if you're resisting, but then you hear their side, it's different, Actually, I asked him to come on the show. He wanted to wait. He started talking, and everyone sounds like a lawyer these days. So I want to wait till the statute of limitations is up because I don't want to basically show the video and so on. So I said, whenever you want to come on the show, we can talk about it.
Was it a police brutality case?
I mean, the guy basically says it was, but he made it sound like he was being trespassed. They wanted him to leave. And then eventually, basically, things got rough by the police. And he did internal affairs, and they said they feel they did nothing wrong.
Right.
But he still, he called 15 attorneys. He thought he was making some, like a law firm would handle it. And they went and said, if you want to come on the show to talk about it. Actually, I think it's kind of cool to put the videos on so we can look at it and say and talk about it and at least give our opinion from police experience, not because we're not attorneys.
From the non-legal perspective, because I have to, like I said, be careful about giving any legal opinion, it's interesting to always hear lay people's opinions about videos and events. And when you ask a question like, should anybody get sued there, or was anybody liable for that, or who's responsible, it's interesting to hear what a person's opinion is that doesn't have a legal background, and how they assess a situation and how they look at it. But I think a lot of us, too, that goes to where we should all be talking a little bit more and listening to each other a little bit more than we do right now.
Superfan Jason said, don't be an ambulance chaser. Roller coaster guy has no lawsuit. We have superfans that are attorneys on the side.
Okay.
I always love when superfan Jason
Do I know Jason?
Yeah, you've been messaging him back and forth. You always forget. He's always he's very big with communicating.
Okay.
Didn't the same thing happen to like Fabio or somebody famous? Like,
oh, you're right. Something hit him in the face.
Yeah, on a roller coaster.
Yes,
right?
you're right. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how they who's filming that?
That's a good point.
You know what? They probably do.
Unless it was the front one. If it was the front.
Don't they take your picture nowadays? And
But that's video.
Yeah, that is video. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So, okay, jumping to another topic.
Yeah.
We have another video because we're always doing crime prevention in general. And this is basically a woman comes to someone's house. I want to show the video, and then you tell me what you would do in general. Like, would you even go to the door for this one? But we're trying to bring up different crime prevention, things that are happening with crime that we want to make people aware. So it's kind of interesting to see a video and then say, what would you do with it? You got the video? Let's go for that one.
All right, so this is going to be a little different than my standard content, but I've seen a bunch of these videos go around on TikTok lately, so I wanted to share my experience because this could help save someone's life. Now, November of last year, this lady comes to my door at about 3:50 a.m. She doesn't knock or ring the doorbell. The only reason I know she's there is because my Ring camera notified me somebody was walking around outside. Now, you might have seen or heard about these situations before where people will use women as decoys to get you to open the door or to lure you outside. Then there are a bunch of guys hanging around the corner to perform a home invasion. I decided to open the door with my Second Amendment, and this is what happened.
3-1.
Oh, hi, I'm sorry.
What the fuck are you doing? It's 3:30 in the fucking morning.
I'm sorry, I got stranded, but I was just wondering if
No, you can't. Get the fuck away from me.
Now, as she left, you could actually hear her talking to a couple people, and you could hear a bunch of footsteps running through the rocks in my front yard. Please, people, be careful. Never open your door this early in the morning to anyone because it could be an attempted home invasion. Please be safe.
You know, I've been noticing more of these videos online where people are just being more brazen in general. And then, so that's one issue about being brazen. The second thing is the Ring camera. You know, I don't have a Ring camera. You mentioned about the other day.
Yeah.
I realized it the other day in my house. I feel like I really need to get one just so that it notifies you that someone's by your front door on your phone.
I agree.
Do you have one yet? You're going to get one?
I don't have one yet, but I'm buying one.
I think at Costco they sell it too. Do you have?
We have one.
They're cheap, right?
It doesn't go to my phone. My husband looks at it all the time.
Can you both get the alerts?
Yes, but I don't want it on my phone because and then every time someone knocks on the door, you get an alert. And depending on what sensitivity level you set it on, you could get an alert every time someone drives by your house.
Ugh.
I kind of think, the other day I was upstairs because I have second floor and I was thinking about it, that it would be good really to be notified me, from downstairs to upstairs. Because I was thinking why do I really need it per se?
Yeah.
But I think it's really good. And then a lot of people are capturing, information from the, from the front. So
Yeah.
I think it's really reasonable. I don't think there's no monthly fee. Is there, right?
I don't think he pays a monthly fee. I think he just has to pay for it up front. I think it's attached to our Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah, I think so,
There
too.
might be updates that you have to pay for, but I'm not even sure about that. I don't know. I think for someone who's interested and who comes to their door, it's probably a good thing. Or somebody who has these packages that get stolen
Yeah.
from their door.
No, I went to go to Costco to see what it costs in general. But I
Right.
think it's a good thing to have in general. I just want to, again, be careful that a lot of people we speak to a lot of people. The goal is not to go to your door, especially at 3:00 in the morning. There's nothing good from it whatsoever. And these days, honestly, to call the police doesn't take 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right?
Here's the problem. It's a shame we can't help people anymore because you're afraid to help somebody because it looks like you can be set up as a crime victim. This girl 100% was setting that guy up. I could tell the way she was at that door. The other thing, going back to crime prevention, which I taught for, 20 years, they like putting notes on your car too. Okay, so you'll get in your car, you'll see a note on your car, you'll pull over, get out of your car. They want you to get out of the car to get that note. They're setting you up. I, as a cop, and what I always taught was you got to just look at your surroundings. Every time you're going to your car, anywhere you're going, keep that instincts up where you're going. A lot of people just look at their phone. They're walking to their car, not looking around. You got to be aware of your surroundings nowadays. That's my opinion. What about you?
Well, your training and background is going to make you much more aware of everything around you. And you're also probably much more aware of potentially nefarious behavior than the average person.
Oh yeah,
because of your exposure. Just like if you work in a law office, you're conditioned to believe certain things about people because that's what you see all day long.
Right.
I'm not always as conscious as you're talking about with my phone and being aware of looking at all my surroundings and everything. But I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's never a bad idea to be more aware of what's going on around you and be alert. But I'll stop if someone's on the side of the road with a busted tire and I think they need help. I'm from the East Coast. We did that.
That's true. That's true. We do that. Yeah. I agree with you.
If somebody has a broke down car on the side of the road on the East Coast, people stop.
People stop. I agree.
It was almost. I cannot remember a time when I was a kid, and I've driven some like hoopties, throughout my life because you drive what you can afford. At certain times in your life. So I've driven all kinds of cars and. Thank God for Good Samaritans at a lot of steps because, there were times when I didn't even have cables and you need to jump or something.
Right.
Or, you have one of these cars where you have to carry around water and pour it in.
Yes.
So that your car doesn't overheat.
Yes. I've had that. My dad
run out of that water.
My dad owned a used car business. I never known what kind of car I was going to get in. Sometimes it didn't start. Sometimes you'd have to bang the starter on the bottom for the car to start. I had all kind of problems like that. Definitely working with used cars all the time.
By the way, do you feel, because of this video in general, do you feel that why things are getting more violent? Like you've been in Vegas how long?
I've been in Vegas since 2005 I first got here. Do I think they're getting more violent? That's a good question. I think as
do you feel less unsafe these days?
I think as we have economic downturns, you tend to have some issues because there's lack of opportunity. And there's oftentimes some panic that can lead to stuff. Now, do I think it's more or less? I don't know. And I'm not always sure how statistics are gathered. Because, you can make statistics look however you want them to look a lot of times, depending on how.
So you don't feel there's a real difference in your everyone's different of how they feel. There's nothing wrong with it. I think me and Danny would say things are definitely more violent.
I would, yeah.
But like I said, you may not, look, people, most people that go to work in general like that, right? They're not feeling it unless you're a victim of a crime. I'll give you an example. I was actually in LA. I don't know if I told you this story. I was in LA. I was in a Ross and I was walking, and then I also think there's a lot more mentally ill people that are out there that have challenged with mental illness. When I was inside of Ross and some guy looks at me, and probably because of my police background, I'm like checking out people more. But I don't feel like with this particular guy, I just kind of glanced by and he basically says like, he was like, stop looking at me, you like gay or something, you gay. He calls me something gay. And I remember I was very, these days, since I'm not a cop anymore, I kind of feel like I would say something more because when you're a cop, like you always, like everything's watched even when you're off duty.
Right.
So when you say something or do something, you're like more held at a higher standard. So if I did something, they would say, why'd you do that? I could lose my job, lose my pension, lose different things. So actually when I walked by the guy, I felt like a victim. Like this guy basically, had the right to say whatever he wants to say to me. The truth is what I did was I basically just, I saw that security saw them, whatever. He probably was shoplifting and because I glanced at him, he kind of did something to me. But I was thinking about doing like a verbal stunt. And I basically call him out and I don't normally do this, but I was getting mad that like now, like I don't want to be a victim of a crime even though I'm not a cop anymore, right? So I basically think I just said like, I was like, luckily we can curse on YouTube, not on TV. But I think what I said to him was, like, get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna blow your head off. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like what we call like a verbal stun. In the police, we call it a verbal stun in general. So the bottom line is I did the verbal stun specifically to get this guy like to scare him. And then security was like, you better get this guy out of here before I shoot him in his head. Now, the truth is I wasn't carrying a firearm at the time in general, but the bottom line is I felt that it was a verbal stunt. So the guy basically was aware of the situation, and basically he's slowly walking out. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I was thinking, like I said, we try to have composure as police officers. I actually wanted to take the dresser of the clothes and start pushing it to the guy, like to basically fight the guy. And I've never really been a big fighter in general. It's just the way that it came off, it was just weird. Like I just had that sense. And sometimes I would joke around like that. Maybe Danny will agree. Sometimes the police mode will come out of us when we're retired. Like there's something inside us, like the Hulk. Would you agree with that?
I agree. It still comes back. Yes.
So the bottom line is that it will come out, and basically we try to hold it in because when we're cops, if something happens, we may wind up we step it up. But we can do that, right? Or you handcuff somebody or put them on the car, and so it comes out of us because we believe, kind of like we're protecting ourselves, or we don't want to get injured, so we step up our game, and there's a little bit of adrenaline rush that goes with it. So that's what happened to me that day. Anyway, the guy's walking out. They're calling the police. No one in LA wants to basically go hands-on anymore. He most likely was shoplifting. And long story short, it did work. But the truth is, I didn't have my firearm with me. It was kind of stupid for me to do it. I was talking about it on the phone today with somebody. But at the end, when he was walking out, someone said they had a machete basically on his side.
Jeez.
So the truth is, even if I did that, like now machete, fighting, the guy's mentally ill, so anyway, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot more mental illness that are out there. And then I also think that people are being more brazen with these robberies. There was up in like Sun City, basically some guy was trying to get robbed his house, carjacking. So I just think that people need to be more aware. But everyone's different. Like if you haven't had a situation, like recently I just had a situation, so I'm more like of a victim now. I felt more victimized in general.
Well, I actually recently attended a neighborhood safety meeting following that Sun City incident. Because I thought it especially important for me running for office when I was invited to go and to listen to some of the concerns of the residents, because that's mostly seniors there and in that area, and that was a pretty violent incident. I don't know all the details exactly because I didn't study it, but I do know a little bit about it, and there's people in that neighborhood that are concerned for their safety now. And my husband is retired FBI. We're raising that little girl, a 3-year-old daughter, in this community. So we're not by any means unconcerned about safety. We want a safe environment, not just for our daughter, but for all children. And I'd be curious if the incident you're discussing, did you have your children with you?
No.
Okay.
I definitely would not have done that if the kids were there. Okay. I mean, it was definitely more of an animalistic thing that came out, and knowing that the kids weren't there. But like I said, these days I just don't want to be victimized anymore because I'm not in uniform. Do you get what I'm saying?
Listen, I had the same thing happen to me in Denver, Colorado. I was working for a law firm in Denver, Colorado, and one of our attorneys went outside, and this guy chased him. This guy with some mental illness, who knows why, but he started chasing him. And then my girlfriend came with me to one time, and she got chased by this guy. So then I'm outside on the phone with one of the attorneys, and this guy starts saying stuff to me. And I looked at him and I flipped. I did the same thing you did. I said, get the fuck away from me. Not fucking today, buddy. I said, not today. And he looked at me and he got scared because I got right back in his face and he left.
It's kind of like PTSD a little bit for cops.
Yeah.
Because we were never a victim when we were cops in uniform. So we don't want to be a victim now, but like we're kind of like, it's like we're handicapped because we don't have, the truth is the biggest weapon. Do you know what the biggest weapon on the police belt is?
I don't.
What's the best weapon that a cop has?
Maybe the badge? I'm not sure.
It's actually, what are you going to say?
It's his communication.
Yeah, it's the radio.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the radio just to get backup, right? Like, hey, I need a backup, right? So it's not the gun. You're not using the gun every day. It's the radio to communicate to other cops. So you need help, right? You can get a helicopter. You can get SWAT. You can get K9, right? So the biggest tool is the communication with other officers to get people there. That's what they used to always say. Probably like academy question, like what's the best? Everyone's like the gun, fire.
Well, that's probably the biggest tool we all have, right, though?
Is what?
Like our ability to communicate with each other.
Well, I'm just saying for police officers in uniform, you get like 10 other cops, right? You de-escalate a problem by having 10 cops in uniform. Especially we call it like command presence by having uniform officers. It de-escalates most people unless you're mentally unstable. It's a different story.
I would say, could you guys hear me?
Is the mic a little bit? Go ahead.
Could you hear me now?
Nope.
It's a little low.
Go ahead. You guys go.
Did it unplug or?
No.
What were you going to say? Just we can hear you, but keep
Can you hear
going.
me?
No, did you accidentally unplug the thing there?
I didn't touch anything.
Alrighty.
Go ahead.
I see you fixed it. Go ahead.
Was it me?
No, you're fine.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
So let's just jump into one thing as his microphone the way it works. Here's a question for you that I have today. Sure. So today, I work with some different criminal defense attorneys. You know, as much as, of course, I don't want anyone to be victimized in general, but I also believe people have certain rights. You were saying, are the courts fair in general? So here's an interesting question for you. When you get arrested and you go to jail, they normally give a list to people that are in custody. It's a bail bondsman list. And the list is, I was actually on the phone with the city of Henderson today, and I said, look, can you send me the updated list of all the bail bondsman companies that that are certified? It's like the name, the phone, email. Now, this list is normally given to people that are in custody, right? So if you're at the jail and you want to bail out, they'll say, all right, call this list. These people are, licensed and certified, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, I'm not sure if I can give you the list. I'm like, why can't you give me the list? You're giving the list to people that are in custody. So the person, of course, like I'm calling, they probably think I'm some crazy person. So I basically said to them that I'm sure with the Freedom of Information Act, I'm sure I can get this list. I don't want to go through the Freedom of Information Act. I just want you to provide the list. So again, I can tell that they probably thought I'm nuts. But the bottom line is I want to see the list of who's on the list, right? Then the second thing is why, if you think about it, we talk about jail reform, this is where I want to get into play with. Why don't they give a list of lawyers? Why does it have to be bail bondsmen? Because if you're into jail reform, right, the bail bondsmen are making money. They're making 15%. So why isn't there not a list of licensed criminal defense attorneys? Because you don't need always to bail out. You just need a lawyer that's going to come to court and request, make a motion to basically get someone released on or an OR without having to pay bail of 15%. So we're giving this list out, but the truth is it's really a money list. It's really for the bail bondsman to make money. You could just wait the next morning or a few hours to court, or maybe you would call an attorney, and maybe like Danny's a really good criminal defense attorney, maybe he would go down to court for free just to get the guy released. And then from there, if he wants to sign up, and he signs up.
I feel like it's just jail. They just want to make it hard on you.
But anyway, so my point, I bring this up to them. Well, they said, well, wouldn't there be like a Yellow Pages? Like, I don't know if do you guys even have Yellow Pages anymore? Like, why can't you give a list of lawyers? Why does it have to be a bail bondsman? You're kind of pushing people to bail bondsmen, and she kind of look a little bit upset. But if you think about it, it's really true. Like, why do we have to give, if you're going to give a list of bail bondsmen, I mean, the bail bondsman not going to help them protect them in court. Why not give a list of lawyers that do criminal defense? And she kind of already started making excuses. Well, that would be like a long list because we would have to have, all licensed attorneys. I'm like, okay, well, you're giving a list of bail bondsmen. Give a list for all lawyers, right? Like let people look through the list of lawyers to call to get them out of jail, or maybe they want to hire them right away. Like you provide that. Like why are we doing the bail? Because it's an old way of doing it. I know I'm rambling, but what's your take on that whole situation?
It's probably a better question for a justice court judge because.
But just in general, I mean, it's like.
But I mean, maybe with the lawyer thing, there's probably a worry of recommending a lawyer.
No, but it's just, it could be every single lawyer, right? Like the bail bondsman list is every bail bondsman.
Like every criminal lawyer who wants to be on that list just says, put me on that list. And then there's just a massive list that they give out.
Yeah, I mean, the list is actually 8 pages long for bail bondsmen that they give.
I mean, there is a list like that you can call the state bar office and get a list for almost any area of
True,
law.
but when you're in jail, they're not emailing or faxing a list at the jail. Hey, cell 122, send it over. What'd you take, Danny? It's interesting. It just recently kind of came to me. What'd you take on? Like, shouldn't there be a lawyer list? Maybe lawyers would want to go down instead of.
Well, I can tell you, just working for the criminal law firm, I know that the lawyer always wanted them out. Am I right, Dave? I mean, they do want them out. So I would say call the bail bondsman.
Why?
Because the lawyer, I mean, every time the lawyer want them out of jail. Yeah. So the lawyer's not going to get them out to the next morning. You know what I mean? Maybe if he does a bail argument, right?
So, okay, I see what you're saying.
But these now, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, there's court.
Okay.
So even if it's Friday you're arrested, Saturday morning is court at like 11 or 1. The attorney could show up. I mean, you don't have to use a public defender.
Right.
If you have a list of private attorneys, maybe they would come down there. Like, why can't I get a list? I'm stuck in jail. I don't know who to call. If there's a list of different lawyers or different numbers, just like the bail bondsman. The bail bondsman is like bikini bail bonds.
Right.
Kind bail bonds. I mean,
right.
It's not like they're giving a novel. It's a name and a website and a phone number.
Right.
Like kind bail bonds. It's just a name. I mean, so why not have a list of licensed lawyers that they would call? Because I'm sure there's some lawyers that, even though they want the business, like they would want the business, they may want to go down there and help them get out so they can sign up with that law firm.
Right.
Like it's actually a good business strategy for a criminal defense lawyer to do that, right?
Right.
I just think, it's funny. You call, everyone's always like so defending the system. And I was the cop, you know what I'm saying? Like I was the cop. I'm saying it's not right. They're right. Like they should, you want to help somebody, don't just give the list of a list that's really making money for a bail bondsman. And I'm okay with the bail process. I mean, that's another story, but I'm just saying, I just think a list of lawyers would be nice to people than just the bail bondsman. All they're about is like, the first question you have, do you have any money? Do you have any people that have money to help you bail out? It's all about money in regards to that. Anyway.
This world is about money. If you don't have it, you are left behind. That's the fact.
Well, that's the problem with the justice system. So that's what you
That's
said.
the fact.
Are the courts fair? So I guess we could talk about personal injury or other things. Why do you say, do you feel the courts aren't fair? What improvement do we need in the courts? Because I think that's definitely an issue in regards to giving a list of lawyers to people that are in custody. I think it sounds very, very simple, just we haven't done it. No one said anything.
I mean, I think economics play a bigger role than they should in many, many court decisions. And I think we have to explore ways of fixing that. Judges have to be more aware of their own prejudices and biases in the economic arena, in the racial arena, in the gender arena, in various other spots as well, so that their fairness can be across the board, so that laws are enforced fairly and equally, regardless of your race, gender, or economic status. I would love to tell you that wasn't a problem in the courthouse and it wasn't an issue, but if it wasn't and it wasn't a problem, I probably wouldn't be running for judge, because as I said, like, I had no designs on being a politician and being in this role. It is not. There are parts of running for a judge that are pretty difficult, and it's exhausting, and you have to ask a bunch of people for money to contribute to your campaign, because you're competing against, most of the time you have somebody else in your race that is also raising money. So money plays a role in these races that many of us wish it didn't. But we're looking at better solutions to deal with that, and unfortunately, there's not a solution that people come up with that people are agreeable to.
So when you meet a lot, so by the way, so I commend you because I see you on social media, which I'm not sure if the other people are running for judges and so on, different things. I know that you're all over the place these days. So what are the key factors that you stand for when you speak at these different places? You're all over the place. Like, so what are things? I'm bringing up different things.
Sure.
Are there certain topics that you want to talk about that are interesting? Like when we talk about whether the courts are fair, is there something specific, or what are topics that you talk about when you meet people?
Okay, if it's
In
generally
regards to change.
Yeah, if it's generally, and I get to speak about whatever I want, in the judicial sense, I talk about my community activism, my experience, and my background coming into this position, and how important it is that you get experienced judges in the spot, how important it is you get judges that care about the community in this spot, and how important you get judges that have actually been active in the community and doing things in the community. A couple years ago, I started a women's group where I bring together women from all kinds of backgrounds, and we usually have a speaker come in and talk about some topic that is important to women. We've had one meeting on mental health. We've had a meeting on estate planning. We've had a meeting on knowing your rights, where we brought in a prosecutor who would talk about your rights if you were a victim of a crime. And we brought in someone from the ACLU to talk about your rights if you're dealing or communicating with a police officer. And I think those kind of community groups and some community activism is important, especially if you're going to run for any kind of public office. So if you're looking at those kind of things before you vote for somebody, if you're wondering what they're doing, what they're busy. Now, this isn't like a regular spot where I get to have a platform, like if I'm running for city council or if I'm running for mayor or something. I get to have a very clear platform, like this is what I want to do when I get elected. But with a judicial position, it's about being fair with how you enforce the law and having the knowledge when you get that spot to be able to effectively function. Another issue too, I run a business, and when you run your own business, you don't get paid if you don't work. So that transfers over in this kind of position, in a legal position, in a judicial position, where you essentially run your courtroom, and it is important not just that you are fair and just with how you enforce the law, and not just that you're familiar with the law, but that you understand how to run an efficient courtroom, because you don't want to come to a courtroom and your hearing is at 9 o'clock and you don't get heard till 11:30. Because if you're running your own business, if you've got something else you have to do, that could seriously put out your day. Not to mention the fact that costs the taxpayers money because now everything's delayed. So there's an efficiency issue too, and you want people in these positions that have some experience, preferably running something or managing something before they get there. And I've run my own business now since I opened in 2014, but it became my full job in 2015. And you have to manage staff, you have to figure out payroll, you have to keep the lights on, and you have to also make sure you're caring for clients. Now, in the judicial sense, your clients are the parties that are appearing before you. You don't have the same relationship with them because you're in hopefully in a neutral position.
It's important to be neutral.
In Department 11, what is it specifically for? Is it for, what's Department 11? Like, is personal injury? What is it?
Sure. Department 11 is a criminal civil court. These departments, it's 1 through 32 departments, and they will change depending on what is needed. So there are some departments that are strictly 100% civil. There are some departments that are a mix of civil and criminal, and there's even a full-on business department. So it really just depends on, there's a rotation depending on what the judge's experience is and depending on what the court needs. Now, right now we have a massive backlog from COVID of civil cases that need to get through the system. Anybody who works in a civil law office knows that they have clients that have been waiting, in some cases, years to get their case to trial. Now, it doesn't mean that all those cases should go to trial, but those cases need to be set up to go to trial. They need to go through whatever process they need to go to prepare for trial. If there's a possibility of resolving them before trial, we need to try to do that. And there has been a stronger emphasis, I believe, in the courts in the last few years to focus a little bit more on trying to get people to settlement. Because one of the issues with trial, and attorneys know this, it doesn't necessarily end a case. Your client can get a verdict that they're super happy with. But if your client's super happy with the verdict, the other side might not be, and the other side might appeal. And then your case continues.
Yeah.
When you say criminal civil court, that means what? Like regular criminal cases?
Lower criminal stuff, misdemeanors, and even some felonies start out in justice court. So in order to get a criminal case up to this court, it has to be bound up by the justice court. But I did bring the statistics, so
where you start the
quote them.
Basically, it's the arraignment for district court.
I'm gonna turn on this phone.
So basically, you're in district court. So basically, it's the arraignment and then basically setting it for trial.
If it's criminal, it'll start in justice court, but the vast majority, if I'm elected to this position, it'll probably be 100% civil department.
Why is that?
Because of my background and my experience, and because of the need currently in the court system. Like I said, the biggest backlog right now, if you look at these numbers, last year, 2021, we had 24,000 civil filings in this court and 7,682 criminal filings. So more than 3/4 of the filings are civil filings. At the moment, we don't have more than 3/4 of the judges with civil trial experience. So we are short judges that have civil trial experience, have the appropriate trial experience to do this job, unfortunately.
Wow.
Why is that the case?
No, I said, wow.
Yeah.
And then even, with COVID, I didn't believe it when they said, that these cases wouldn't even get seen till like 2023, 2025.
Yeah, some of the
long time to
cases
wait.
take a really long time, and by the time you have your day in court, sometimes, if you're talking about the personal injury, sometimes the person's already recovered from their injury. Or sometimes you figured out that they've got a permanent issue at least. That's one of the benefits of how long some of the stuff takes. But you have to allow discovery to be done. And unfortunately, even with COVID, there were delays in discovery. And now we're trying to push things through to get things heard and to get them through to trial, to verdict, so that hopefully we can resolve them. And the cases that are appropriate for settlement conferences or resolutions, hopefully we're moving toward them. Now, the paper I gave you shows you much more than just the district court, but the first one is your district court filings. If you notice, there's also a ton of family court filings too.
I wonder, it's interesting to see the 24,000. I wonder if you go back the last 10 years, what that number is every year. Like, was it much less or?
I went back a few years and looked at this, and civil has been higher than criminal for quite some time, by quite a bit. Was it as high as 24,000 in previous years? There were some, if I remember correctly, and I'm speaking from memory, I think there was one with a 21,000. But there are a lot of civil filings every year. Now, some of them go into, there's an ADR system, alternative dispute resolution system. So if the case is worth less than $50,000 and it's filed in this court, it'll go into the alternative dispute resolution system, which I currently work in now as a court-appointed arbitrator and court-appointed short trial judge.
Actually, yeah, I do want to know why. Why is there a shortage in judges?
Why is there a shortage? Well, essentially, last cycle we got a lot of people with criminal experience elected.
Oh, okay, because of the experience.
Yeah, but part of the issue really is civil judges can make a whole lot more money practicing civil law. So many of them don't run for judge. It's hard to run for judge. It's expensive. It's exposing your whole life and your family. And you guys talked about it earlier. I mean, the judicial positions people don't care about the same way they care about some of the other ones. But I mean, when your life's going to be exposed this way,
It's tough, yeah.
yeah, and there's an argument like, why would you bother? Why wouldn't you just stay practicing law?
You're comfortable there.
Comfortable, you make more money, you know what you're doing, you can make your own hours a little bit more probably. You know, in district court, you got to show up every day. You can't let your office run itself. If you do, you're going to be in trouble.
What does that day look like? It's like 8 to 5. You're just like all day. You sleep there too, or what?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question because you know, there's a lot of issues right now with what kind of hours that people are keeping, and especially after coming back from COVID, because we had a lot of people working remotely, and now a lot of the push is to get everybody back into their offices. But that's overall, I think, with a lot of places in town in general, and then you have a lot of business owners, and you have the court system dealing with, are we going to let people continue to work remotely? And if so, how efficient are they being in that process? You know, and I think different fields are seeing different success there. I don't know if any of you guys are on LinkedIn with some of this, but there's definitely a discussion about working from home and if people are more efficient working from home. I know a lot of people are happier working from home. I mean, you can basically work in your pajamas a lot of times, and you save yourself on your commute. Saves in.
You can't do that for a judge, right?
Ideally not, but you are wearing a robe, so who knows what they've got underneath.
No undergarments.
I've had judges come out from behind the bench and they've got jeans underneath that robe or shorts.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, they're a little more careful doing that.
I'm sure it's nothing like being in court, though. You know, like even with attorneys, so it's the exciting part of like being in court.
Well, people need their day in court a lot of times. But we've also seen sensationalized court systems or court because of what we see all over TV. You know, I've tried a lot of cases, and I have to say to my clients when they like, I want my day in court. Your day in court might not be what you think it's going to be. Yeah. There's very few like Perry Mason moments. And when I train other attorneys to try cases, I tell them that too. You're not going to have these great moments that you think you're going to have. And when you experience that kind of moment, you might not even notice it until later. Like I've had some fabulous verdicts come back. And at the time when I'm sitting at the table listening, sometimes I recognize like, hey, this might be a big moment, and take a moment and like really absorb it. But a few times, especially early in my career, it was just like, okay, just another day. Like let's get this happening. And I had to think about it later. Like this is a big moment, you know. Your client sitting next to you, this is their moment. This is their moment to have their case heard, to have their case decided, and it might be the only one they get. So it is really, I mean, we get to do amazing things as attorneys. I mean, I know you guys work in legal field too, but like people call us because something's wrong in their life, and we get to come around and fix it. Like that's super amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody gets to do something like that with their life and
ease their mind and their troubles. Yeah.
With their career. Like I hope that every one of my clients have been better off because they met me. And many have openly said that to me, like, thank God I met you, like, you've saved my life. And it just feels like, it feels so good, and it feels like, okay, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're making a difference in this world, and a positive difference, because hopefully an attorney's getting somebody, unfortunately, at a bad time in their life, and helping them get through that to get to a place where they can move on, and get through that bad spot, and hopefully not have to relive it.
Right.
How do you make the 24,000 filings? Like, how do you decrease that? Like, what do you got to do? I mean, is that all judges have to get together? And like how do you make that 5,000?
Okay,
Because it's all taxpayers' money, right?
Yeah, you're probably not going to decrease the amount of filings, like the amount of cases that get filed. However, you can decrease the amount of pending by moving them through the system. So
Basically, you're pressing the lawyers to basically just negotiate.
you can press to negotiate. You can press them through to trial. It's not so much you don't want to rush a case, but at the same time, there are cases that are ripe to move forward and to be tried. And there are, we have a lot of attorneys in town that get paid by the hour. And unfortunately, some of them, it creates a conflict situation every once in a while where the way the attorney's getting paid versus the way the case to get to settlement are almost at a conflict. So if an attorney's getting paid by the hour, they arguably get paid more as the case goes on. So what's their motivation to settle or resolve the case when it works against them? Now,
Right.
you have a duty as an attorney. You're supposed to be getting your client to resolution and doing what's best for your client, not what's best for yourself. But technically right there, you got a little bit of a conflict situation.
And then there's arbitration.
There's arbitration, there's short trial, there's mediation, there's various alternative routes that you can take to getting to resolution. And some of them are very successful in the family arena. Some of them are actually built very well into the system. In family cases, when people go and file divorce, there's pretty much a mandatory mediation for people to sit down if there's kids involved, where they sit down and talk about how they're going to break down the custody arrangement.
Yeah.
So hopefully they've come to an agreement peacefully. and so it
Right,
doesn't
because
all end up
sometimes
in
it's
front
hard to
of a
communicate,
judge.
so you just need that mediator,
Yeah.
and most of the time, you just get it resolved that way. So I see.
So what are your thoughts of the new thing that came out? Explain to Jason, if you, Danny.
Jason.
I know who's doing.
I was talking to the super fan Jason. I was telling him to come to the Zoom room.
Okay.
He's cheating on
Explain
you,
the
Danny.
situation with Kobe Bryant with the photos, and let's get her opinion. Because someone was, the verdict just came out in regards to
Right.
Kobe Bryant, the settlement. Tell us a little bit of the story, what happened, because I really didn't follow it to the
Well,
T
I think we all know what happened with Kobe.
with the photos.
Yeah, of course. And listen, being a detective, I was a detective for 14 years. I would yell at my guys all the time, don't take pictures with your cell phone, because they could take your cell phone in court, that as an attorney, and they could use it as evidence and get all your pictures. I used to tell them, don't even put notes on your cell phones. Don't do anything with your cell phones. Well, I guess the accident happens. They take pictures with their cell phones and they share them with everybody. I don't know. Honestly, they just said emergency workers, so I'm not sure if it was cops, EMTs, whoever was there, the firemen. But they shared these photos of the death photos of Kobe and his daughter, which is horrible. And I'm glad I'm glad they settled for $16 million or whatever it was, because I believe she deserved it. I think it's awful. That's your loved ones, and they're giving pictures to people. I think it's awful.
They were saying it's $31 million of the lawsuit. For
I
the
thought
photos.
it was 16. Okay. 31?
Well, this one says widow ordered $16 million trial over crash photos. This one says jury awards plaintiffs $31 million lawsuit over Kobe Bryant crash photos. I don't know. Maybe they
I'll be
messed up.
selling them too.
I think it's $6 million. What's your take on that? You think that? I mean, basically, it's tax money, right? $16 million is coming out of like Los Angeles, right? Isn't that?
Is that who the defendant was?
I thought it was because it's the city workers, right?
Yeah.
It's like the cops or the ambulance
Yeah.
people, right? In general.
I would assume. If we got sued, they'd sue the city, right? Unless
It
they
says
sued us personally.
$16 million as part of a $31 million jury verdict Wednesday against Los Angeles County for deputies and firefighters sharing grisly photos of the NBA star. So it's basically money coming from it's taxpayer money, right?
Would they
16
make a deal so that there was no appeal?
I didn't really
Is that where
know
the 31 became 16?
I'm assuming, is that what normally happens? They make a deal they can't?
I mean, here's the thing. Once you have a verdict, oftentimes there is a settlement, post-verdict, or even pre-verdict, to end the case. Because the unfortunate part is, and this is what not everybody realizes, is that a verdict doesn't necessarily end a case.
It says the pictures were shared mostly between employees of the LA County Sheriff's and Fire Departments, including by some who were playing video games and attending an awards banquet. Also seen by some of their spouses, in one case a bartender at a bar where a deputy was drinking. It's kind of interesting. These things do happen in general. Of course, I'm sure there's new policies right now, right? Because of probably like a Kobe Bryant policy for police and law enforcement.
Right.
But people used to always say not take photos. I think cops, not saying it's right. They should be held to a higher standard, but sometimes they take out their phones and they take pictures, which they shouldn't be. But sharing it, kind of crazy, this cop at a bar.
That's crazy.
But anyway, so you feel someone was saying that the $16 million is that not, he was worth like $300 million. But I guess how much money?
But I think it was the point of it. I don't think it was money to her because she's going to be a millionaire for the rest of her life.
She has money.
Right. She has money. This was the point of it. And I agree with sometimes I don't agree with these lawsuits at all, but this one I'm 100% for. 100%.
Any opinion you want to share about that?
I don't know enough about the lawsuit.
Just in general, you got cops basically or firemen
taking photos and sharing them.
I'm sure there's policies and protocol in place, and I think that you have a duty to follow the policies and protocol that you've agreed to. I'm not sure what would have been the reason for sharing the photographs.
There's no reason. Basically it's a celebrity and then probably. Hey, did you see what happened to Kobe Bryant?
Yeah, look at this.
Photos.
Yeah, look at this.
Those are probably pretty gruesome photographs.
Yeah.
So since a lot of the things you do are personal injury, is anything we talk about again? I kind of wrote this down when you said this. You said are the courts fair? What are things in personal injury world that basically are not fair?
I was gonna ask that.
Sure.
Do judges do that?
What do you? I'm just saying. What do you think that's not fair?
Yeah.
That you think that should be changed in the personal injury world? Since car accidents is like the biggest thing I think all over the U.S. these days, injuries. Like, what do you think would be changed if you could just like do some sprinkle dust all over the court system in general for the state? What would you do that you think needs to be changed or modified? Because you predominantly did more personal injury, and since so many people call you because you're like more of an expertise in that, what would you change? What would be? I have no clue, so I'm asking you. There's got to be like one thing that you think that should be changed.
Well, I think we have biases and prejudices in jurors.
Okay.
That we haven't figured out the best way to flush out in the selection process. So as a result, we get jurors that we don't necessarily
should be on there.
Sometimes, yeah, and we need to find better ways of evaluating that. We need to explore what we can look at for possibly putting. Assessing any racism, biases, prejudices, because there's a variety of stuff that we all walk in, whether we think it or not. We all have prejudice and biases. Now, it doesn't mean that the person is wrong for every case in a courtroom or every case at the courthouse. It just means maybe they're wrong for this case because of their own personal biases and prejudices. And you have to find a good way to flush that out. We've got questions and policies that are in place right now. And there's different procedures in each courtroom, and the judges get to somewhat control that. The judges get to, a lot of times, get to determine how far the questions are going to go, and the judges get to rule on strikes that we get. Because, you get a certain number of strikes. You get to get rid of jurors for two different reasons. There's preemptory and for cause strikes. So if somebody actually says something that makes them clearly an unfair juror in a case, you can use a for cause strike and get rid of them, and you have unlimited for cause strikes. But you have a certain number of preemptory strikes that you're limited in number, and once you run out of those, you don't get to get rid of any more people. So many courtrooms are using something called a modified Arizona method with how they do the jury selection in place, but there's various other methods too. So I think that we probably need to do a better job of sussing out biases and prejudices in jurors.
I'm going to say the way the country is divided right now, and I'm 53 years old. I've never seen the country this divided. I believe this is going to hurt the jury system hugely. I don't want to use a Trump thing, but honestly, it's going to hurt it because you got liberals who think cops, anything they do are wrong. And then you have the Republicans who think cops are God. Okay. So you're going to have two things. You're going to get these jurors on there, and there's going to be some jurors that are never, ever, ever going to believe a cop. And then there's going to be jurors that are going to believe the cop's word is gold. So I think you are going to have problems with the jury system because of the way this country is split. And the politicians split us. We didn't split us. They split us for votes. And that's the truth. And I'm getting angry because that angers me. Because the way they made this country, they're even going to hurt our justice system. That's my opinion.
I think that we have way too. I mean, we have a lot of division right now, and we have a lot of people that are benefiting from the division,
Right.
And almost lighting flames and fires to push us farther apart. Now, the problem we have is after November, and frankly, even before November, we need to be coming together right now and talking about how to solve problems. Now, one of the benefits I have with this judicial position is it is a nonpartisan position. I go into all rooms, far left, far right, everything in between. And that's really good because I get to hear so many different perspectives and thoughts. And, you know, it doesn't mean I agree with everything that happens in one room or another, because I don't think any one of us are all one way or another, you know? But I think we all need to do a lot more talking and a lot more listening to each other specifically.
Understanding.
Yeah, because I don't, at the end of the day, we all want a safe place to live. You know, we all want a better world for our children. We all would love good schools for our children. You know, we want to be able to run our businesses. We want to be able to have careers. We want to feel good in our life. We want to feel safe. We want to feel happy. You know, a lot of us want so much of the same things. And in some ways, we push so far apart. And there are certain people that, like I said, they're fanning these flames, especially, I mean, you're on Twitter, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like you see some stuff on Twitter and it's just out of this world. Like, I swear people are just, it's for clicks and likes and everything else. And it's happened to almost everybody. That if it hasn't happened to you guys yet, it probably will at some point, where somebody will go after you just for clicks and likes, especially if you've got enough following.
Or that it's negative. It's easy to, you know.
I had people pretend they're me on TikTok. I had 4 different people pretend they were me. I had to report them to TikTok.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, you have the 70,000
they've done that
followers.
to me too.
Yeah, they
One time
pretended
somebody
they were
was
me.
like, I saw you on Tinder. And I'm like, I don't have a Tinder. What are you talking about? Screenshot that to me. Report it now, please.
Right. Yeah, honestly,
They're
that's
taking my
happened to me.
photos.
Were you on Tinder?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I've never
if
been.
they
I don't
did
even know
that
what
to
Tinder
you.
is. I'm too old. I don't know what Tinder is. I know it's some kind of dating thing or something. I don't
Do you
know.
know what a chicken tender is?
Yeah, I know what chicken tender is.
So wait. Who selects the jury?
Well, okay. We bring
The
in
jurors.
jurors, and the both sides get to ask questions. And the court brings in a certain number of jurors to start, and then both sides of the counsel. And sometimes there's more counsel than we think on each side,
Right.
depending on the
Because
parties.
I heard a good attorney knows the judge. So, so would you like have, you know, if you have a good relationship with the judge, you know, is it possible that they would have jurors that are leaning more towards, you know, your case, like your favor in the case, or?
No.
Well, this is the stuff we shouldn't have, ideally. Okay?
But it's there.
Ideally, we should all be getting a fair shake in this
You
room.
would change that.
I don't believe that's okay. I sit as a short trial judge right now, and there is not favoritism from one side or the other. Now, we are in a small community, so a lot of us know each other. So it is rare that I get counsel in front of me that I don't already know from one reason or another. However, if you cannot be fair, if you have
Impartial.
if you cannot be impartial, like the relationship you're talking about, then you shouldn't be sitting there as a judge. You should be acknowledging that you can't be fair in this case.
And like you say,
stepping
neutral,
down. Yeah, because there are plenty of other cases that you could bring into your courtroom. I mean, 24,000. You know, so there's plenty other cases.
Right.
If you can't be fair on this one, send it to the judge around the judge down the hall or the judge in the next room, and bring in a new one. But you have to assess that. You have to fairly assess that. And some of us are not the best at evaluating ourselves.
Okay, because it's hard to take a look in the mirror sometimes.
Not
But,
for me.
You know what? I can do it too, and I'm pretty aware. And you know,
Let's grab a mirror somewhere.
I'm gonna
Grab
grab
a mirror. All right, so listen, is Superfan Jason on the Zoom room?
He is. Let's see if he has audio.
Oh God!
Let's see if he has
I don't know.
audio.
I don't know who Superfan Jason
Let's see
is.
if Superfan Jason is.
I hear you just fine.
Oh, perfect.
So you're just on
Hi,
audio, right?
Jason.
He's
Oh, there
right
we go.
here.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Superfan Jason. You met Jason before, no?
Of course I did.
Several times.
You guys are best friends.
He
on
doesn't
social
like
media.
some of my comments, though.
I'm glad that he
Jason.
comments, though.
Most of them.
Superfan Jason, tell us. I just wanted to. We're trying to do more Zoom room things, so I know that you're vocal. So, any other questions you have? Anything for us? Questions or for Anna, who's basically running for district court judge?
Not so much questions, but can I make a more of a statement than a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Um,
Nothing bad about Danny.
Nothing bad about Danny or anyone for that matter.
Okay.
You were talking before about jury selection and how to make it more fair.
Mm-hmm.
I got called for jury in June. I was released from it, but excused from it. But a big problem that I had was that it was only offering $40 a day. I know that it's a civil responsibility, but $40 a day doesn't generally cover people's bills to get to and from the courthouse.
It's like your gas money nowadays.
$40 barely covers the lunch if you have to buy it in the
The
courthouse,
parking is
it usually
$50,
do.
so you're down 10.
I think there should be a law that your employer pays you. That's my opinion.
And they do make provisions for that is required by the employer, but you're required to take PTO for that. So
Yeah.
I think my personal opinion is part of the
Especially if
answer
you're
to
being
getting
called
better
by the
jury
law.
Okay, you're gonna hate my response, but I've got to tell you, this is something to bring up with somebody running for the state legislature, because they have to change it, and they can change the numbers by changing the NRS statutes to say that jurors should be paid a certain amount of money. Because what you're not even talking about too is, I believe for the first 3 days, if you're not actually selected yet, which selection can take a while, you don't get paid anything.
right. I don't hate your answer. You were talking about how to improve the jury pool. In my opinion, that's the way to do it.
And you know, it's somebody like me and Dave, we're never getting on a jury. I mean, it's very slim for me and Dave. Maybe a civil case, you know, and I think I could be honest, but us just saying we were cops, the odds
Danny,
are very
you never
slim.
get on the jury.
No, people would, especially after they saw my political TikToks, I would never get on a jury. Never.
You and I would never get on a jury. David and Beja would, but you and I wouldn't.
Yeah, I believe Dave's a little different than
When
me.
did
Dave
we
might
call
get
you?
on
I've
it.
never been called.
You know,
I've been called.
There was a murder case, and I made it on like somewhat, and I really was hoping to get on to have that experience.
Right.
And eventually they got me. Like I was being selected, you
Yeah.
know, and I would tell them like,
Ironically, this is the first time I was ever called for jury duty.
oh really?
Oh, wow.
And I was basically saying, look, I really feel like you're being impartial. Like I can understand, you know, but they kicked me off. I was really excited to be part of it, actually, to have that experience in general. Superfan Jason, we have something new that we're going to start doing next week, but I want to make you my first person. We're going to start a new thing called "Want to Win Some Money," and it's going to be it's actually sponsored by.
You know, I don't like being the guinea pig for anyone.
Well, I'm just going to show you what it is. Maybe we could do. We're going to give us some. Can
Is
we
that
do it at the
Jason
same
on
time?
the stick?
No.
It kind of looks like him.
That's hilarious. Can we show that?
Okay. So
I don't know what that is.
so Jason, we're gonna.
It's a good-looking guy on a stick here. You're good.
So
You would be involved.
Pablo
You're not a
Lipstick?
guinea pig.
So we're gonna start giving out like on a weekly basis. What we're gonna do is with the Zoom room, like we're gonna say like you have 10 minutes to get into the Zoom room. If you want to win some money, you pop in the room like you did right now. The first one that gets in the room wins some lottery tickets. Since we don't have any lottery in Nevada, that basically we have California tickets. When we get off here, we'll show the tickets basically called Set for Life, and we're gonna get you 10 tickets for lottery. It was Beja's idea to come up with giving out lottery tickets. Beja's like, she's always coming up with these creative ideas. So we're going to give you 10 lottery tickets scratch-offs for, it's called Set for Life when we hang up with you. But we appreciate you coming on and sharing some wisdom. That was good. See, it was a good thing you brought on. So thanks for joining us and bringing up your
welcome.
perspective. We're going to show the lottery
Thanks,
ticket that you're going to get. I'm going to get
Jason.
you 10 tickets.
You're welcome.
All right, have a good
Thanks,
one.
Jace.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So wait, if they do win, we get a certain percentage, right? We provide because
Ooh, we didn't
provided
do
it.
that.
You want to show the California, it's the lottery ticket where it's California Set for Life. So we're giving the
Just a
tickets.
second.
Whenever you get pop it up, whenever the tickets. So listen, Danny, ask a few last questions, the personal questions in
All right.
regards to that. And then we're going to wrap up a little bit because of time. But
I didn't know what you meant there, but I got a question here. We brought this up last time to one of the attorneys. I feel very big on this, okay? I think we have a problem with our traffic tickets. I really do. I think traffic is, the way people drive in this city is horrible. Our roads are unsafe, and the reason our roads are unsafe is there is no discipline. People get tickets and they get lowered to a parking ticket. And that, to me, that's the reason people are driving out of control. If there is no consequence, why would I behave? Especially if I'm rich and I'm driving a Mercedes, what do I care if I have to pay a $200 parking ticket? I don't care. But if I lose my license and I'm rich, then I care because I can't go to work. So my thing is, our problem here with the traffic tickets is they're all getting reduced. And Henderson, my girlfriend got a ticket. She got it reduced to a parking ticket. The parking ticket was more than the traffic ticket. So I believe Henderson's making money off this. Okay? So the roads are staying unsafe so Henderson can make more money. And that's a problem. That is a problem. That's why our roads are so bad.
Real quickly,
Like, what do you have to?
I know the judge isn't going to want to answer that one.
What do you think somebody has to do to get their license like suspended?
I don't know.
Like, what does that look like to you?
It gets reduced to a parking ticket, everything here. You know what I mean?
You don't like it though, so like, what would you do?
You get a ticket, you're getting points on your license, you're losing your license. And then guess what? You're not going to drive like an idiot. These people drive like idiots out here. You'll get on this road, you'll almost be hit 3-4 times. And God forbid they're driving a big truck with big tires. Oh my God. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Let me drive all over this city at 100 miles an hour. I could do whatever I want. I'm driving a big truck.
Or the fast
I'm paying
cars.
$2,000 a month to drive this truck just to prove how great I am.
Or the fast cars zigzag through traffic.
Yeah. I can't. I'm sorry. I have a problem with people with big
that was
trucks.
a question for you. Sorry. What do you think?
Well, the tickets won't go to the court that I practice in.
Okay.
Yeah.
The tickets will go to Justice
There's
Court.
levels
and
to this shit, and
Court.
she's up here. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Don't bother her with
You get-
that's small potatoes.
You got 5 judicial spots on your ballot. Muni, Justice, District, that's my court, Appellate, and Supreme. And so get some Justice or some Muni Court people in here and grill them.
I have
agree.
one
Let me
question.
do it.
I have one question. You said you had a women's group?
Yes.
Okay. You did bring up the mental health, different stuff. Estate planning. Was that all for the women, or was there anything specific that you guys talked about or helped?
Sure. Essentially, it's just a group of women that we get together, diverse group of.
And just like vent, or?
I mean, there's venting that goes on there too, but the whole idea behind it was to support each other, network, and learn from one another. There's everything from physicians to housewives in there, and everything in between. People that barely have their high school degree, all the way up to people that have advanced degrees. So it's just a diverse mixed group of women, and the idea is to get together, to network, to learn from one another, to socialize with one another, because women need other women in their lives, especially good supportive women. Women are not always so good at taking care of themselves and making time for themselves, and getting together with other women sometimes provides you with a network and
it's
a
supposed
system.
to be empowering each other.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, my kid's actually going back to school Monday, but actually Movement Mortgage, who is one of the sponsors for the show, they had some gifts for Danny and for Beja. So my kids are going to come here to drop off for gifts. So there's my Chloe's coming in, Kyla. Is Kyle there too?
they're
Kyle
so
there?
cute.
For
Bring in
me,
Kyle. They basically got a gift. So we have mini problem solvers that are here. Come on in, Kyle. Come in. Come on in,
Yes,
guys.
we took a little break for the summer, but I would love to
You guys
invite
are
you.
great.
Come inside here real quick. So these are mini problem solvers in general. And then give the gift to Beja and to Danny for Movement Mortgage, who helps us for the...
Oh, love it.
Do we have any other hats?
Thank
We look like
We're gonna have to
gangsters.
get Anna a hat. So this is for Movement Mortgage.
Thank you, guys.
And basically they help people getting home loans. Erin is
I
one
like
of the
it.
main people. Come over here, Kyle, real quick. So just to say hello. And then mini problem solvers here in general. Are you being
Yeah.
shy? And they go back to school.
I
Monday.
like it.
our little problem solvers.
So
That's
they
the
basically,
3.5
I like it
Year-old?
too. I actually really
He's
like
3.5,
it.
I
yeah.
do too. I'm going to wear it all the time.
yeah. And
I'm
they
going
got-
for dinner after, so I'll put it on.
So they
later.
have movement mortgage hats as well. Anything you want to say? Oh, what's the phone? Okay, we're good.
I like
What's the
that
phone
one
number to
too.
call if you want to call Movement Mortgage? Come over here.
702-33 home.
333 home, right? Oh, you got a hat. There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you very much.
Hey.
One too.
You know the phone number for Movement Mortgage?
My hat.
Where are your hats?
Movement Mortgage. That's who we are.
Oh my God.
You guys are superstars. Okay, I love you guys. Go home with mommy. I know mommy's here to pick you up, and then we'll see you. We're gonna see you home.
Thank you, little
Okay.
problem solvers.
I love you. Go home, okay? And then you come next week. Mommy's gonna take you home, okay? Okay. I'll meet you outside then in 2 minutes, okay? Danny's gonna finish up with 1 or 2 quick questions, and then we're gonna go.
No, stay with you.
Staying with me?
3.
Yeah, a little younger than him.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen, we asked a couple questions to all of our guests. I don't know if you saw it on the last one. We kind of got. Yes, we kind of got famous here. We went national. Okay, we went viral. Me and Dave were interviewed by Swiss TV last week. The Netherlands is coming. All kind of stuff going on here. So it started with the body in the barrel at Lake Mead. We just want to know what you think. Right now, they found 5 bodies. Okay, they identified one that happened at Colville Bay, that it was a drowning victim from 2002. With the lake going down, how many more bodies do you think will be found? We're asking each guest by December.
Oh, God.
There's 5. Do you think our last guest said 7? I'm saying 7. I think you're looking at 2 more. That's my guess.
And we just found out actually today the second body was identified as a drowning person that just came out today.
Yeah.
So we got number 1,
So they found
3.
5 so far.
Yes.
So
And
far.
you're asking how many more?
Yeah,
on top
by
of that?
December.
Because the water's going down.
And in that short amount of time, they found 5. So
I think whoever gets the right number, Dave's going to give a lottery ticket to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
We should be recording everybody's
Yes.
responses.
Yes.
That should be the reward there.
That-
I'll
that's a
go
good-
low. I'll say 3. I really have
Okay.
no idea.
All right, 3 more. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, we got one more question, and it's just that has to do with Vegas. What's your favorite place to eat, let's say on the Strip?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay. I'm not allowed to plug any restaurant.
Gotcha.
I'm not allowed to plug a place, but
You could just say
I'll
you
tell
love eating there.
I love the view at Top of the World. The view.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I ate there with Dave. Dave took me out to
yeah.
dinner and paid.
They actually I used to like going there for lunch. It was more
I used to like
reasonable
going
for
there for
lunch as well.
lunch,
That's
too,
a
yeah.
And it was during the day. and
Yeah.
the stratosphere. But I think they stopped for lunch. I don't know if they reopened.
I think they did close for lunch.
To me, it was
but,
great because it was during the day. It was a beautiful
And it was
view.
cheaper. You did take me for lunch, so it was
I think
cheaper.
They might be charging a minimum to get in there now too, and they didn't
really?
used to. They used to have a happy hour, and I would
Yes,
bring
the
people for
happy
the
hour.
happy hour that came to visit because
Those lollipop wings.
you could, the food was there was like discount food, the drinks were a good price, and you could just go up there and enjoy the view, and then you could go up to the the viewing deck above
Yeah.
too
Just
if you were there for the happy hour.
hang out, yeah.
So I mean, I think the view. I mean, we live in an incredible city.
We do.
The growth and development here is amazing,
Agreed.
and I love views. So that's probably one of my favorite spots. No comment on the food exactly because I won't. I mean, I'm not a huge foodie. I'm not anti-food by any
Got
means,
it.
but I'm not a huge foodie. It's about the ambiance and view places and that.
I agree with the ambiance. As we wrap up, is there anything else that we didn't
agree
ask
with
you?
the food.
Any other things that you want to share in regards to anything?
I love to share where people can contact me if they have any
Go for
questions.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
So my website is www.annaalbertson.com. You can go there or you can call me directly on my telephone, 702-659-2622, with any questions you have about me or the election. I do encourage people to please reach out to me. I'm limited what I can say as a judicial candidate. However, I'm happy to answer any questions about my background and experience because it is so important that people vote for these positions. It is so important people care about these positions. And I want to do my part to make sure that I'm reaching out to as many voters as possible so that they know who they're voting for. So they're not just voting on name alone. They actually feel confident in their vote. They feel good about it. And they understand that they're not going to, if they ever have to appear in front of me, they're not going to regret the choice they made. So thank you so much. My motto, which is on the back of some of the postcards I've given you, is let's make good changes together. And I genuinely believe that. Like we talked about how separate people are right now, and we really need to get together. We need to work with people. We're not all going to agree on everything. That's clear. But we need to get together, we need to talk, and we need to work together to make good changes as your kids are growing up in this community, my kids are growing up in this community, and everybody else's children are growing up here too. We need to make a better world for our children.
Agree.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like
Absolutely.
you said, we all want
Agree.
the same thing.
Yep.
So I want to thank Anna Albertson, who's running for District Court Judge, Department 11. Again, I have a lot of experience. She's court-appointed arbitrator since 2014, judge pro tem since 2018, truancy court judge 2015 to 2017, represented over 1,000 different clients, local business owner, mother, and wife. So I commend you for all the work you're doing. I really appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your opinion and wisdom. Thanks to Danny and Beja as well.
Oh, and no relationship to the grocery store. I get that question a lot. It's spelt exactly the same way, but no S at the end, but no relationship. So
I
Albertson
think
like
it
the
makes
grocery
it
store, but no
easier
relationship.
to remember, actually.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks so much for joining us today again. Thanks for my co-host for helping out as well as usual. I'm David Kohlmeyer, the problem solver, every single week having amazing guests, just like Anna on the show, talking about different things that are going on. Thanks to my kids here with Movement Mortgage, basically helping out, dropping off some hats. Chloe, Kyla, and Kyle, thanks so much for joining us for Movement Mortgage. And that is basically it. Every Thursday we go live at 4:30 at Sticky Plus Studio. Tuesday 6 p.m. channel 14 Cox Cable. Please join us. Go to theproblemsolver.vegas. In order to, if you have any problems, you want to come on the show, we'd be more than happy to have you. Otherwise, we'll see you next week and be safe.